Hello, ladies and listeners. This is your hairless host, Joey Twassen, and welcome to the Individual Collective. This is a podcast about how people utilize their uniqueness to create value for others. Today, I sit down with the beautiful Kelley Day. She is a model and actress who competed for Miss World Philippines 2019 and bagged the crown of Miss Eco Philippines. She will be representing the country in the upcoming Miss Eco International competition. In this episode, we talk about her journey coming from Dubai, finding the balance between being comfortable with who you are and where you're at in life, her current state dealing with the autoimmune disease alopecia, and much more. FYI, this was recorded before the coronavirus outbreak, so some of the things we talked about have been postponed. Today's episode is brought to you by The Study by Endrin. The Study is a space where you can find language tutorials, short courses, or even co-working space. And you can find us at Estancia Mall on the second floor. We are also brought to you by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning platform where you can find classes ranging from creative writing to marketing to animation, and you can get 2 months free by clicking the link below. Last but not the least, please hit that subscribe button below to be updated on future episodes. Now, without further ado, Miss Kelley Day. Miss Kelley Day.
Hello.
Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's wonderful to have you.
Hi, Joe. It's nice to see you in a formal environment.
Formal environment? It's not formal at all.
It's all fancy and clean.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. This is the new setup. So you and Mark were the ones who baptized it. So thank you for baptizing it.
It's my pleasure.
And this is the christening of the podcast. So the last time we talked, you mentioned, because we were in London, and you were mentioning how, you being there was totally different than here, and your experience there, how you said that nobody kind of noticed you. Can you expound on that a little bit more?
Well, even before I joined showbiz, I noticed that when I would walk around in Manila, that people would sort of look at me. I think my height is one thing as well, and then my foreignness. But in London, everyone's from everywhere, so you have just a really vast variety of cultures, and I didn't stick out in any way. And I was shorter than everyone too, so it was quite nice though. Yeah. It was nice to just sort of not have to worry about how I look or anything, and just sort of
live a normal life.
Yeah.
Do you still kind of crave that now? Coming back here, back to reality. You're back in Manila. You have billboards, and that's do you still feel like sometimes, wow, I kind of want to go back and just live a normal life?
I felt that. I think I told you in London that I did feel that. But then after a couple of weeks, Mark is coughing.
Shut up, Mark.
Marcus, why are you so after a couple of weeks, I kind of missed how comfortable I felt here. I don't think it was necessarily wanting to be noticed again, but just feeling really comfortable and knowing exactly where to go if I need something. But I think a vacation here and there is always going to be good. But this does feel quite like my home now.
Hey, you've been here for how many years again?
4.
4 years.
It's crazy.
That's a college degree.
Actually, yes, it is. It would have been.
It could have been.
Would have been.
Yeah, and that move from to decide to come here to the Philippines, to skip college, and that's a big move, and
yes.
What was that like? What was that jump like for you?
Well, so I finished high school in Dubai, right? And I actually had a placement in the university in the UK. I had a 4 years master degree fixed for me. Yeah, they offered a master's because I exceeded their bachelor's expectations, which was a 3-year. So they did offer a 4-year course for me. That's biological sciences. And I was like, yeah, okay. Because I didn't even expect to get in. So when my grades came out, I was really pleasantly surprised. And so that was the plan. I even had my university, what do you call it? The dorm. I had my exact dorm number. I knew which building I was going to be in. Wow. I was part of the Facebook group where everyone was like, oh, we can't wait to meet each other. Oh, this is my next door neighbor. Oh, it's going to be so cool. And about 2 weeks before that, before leaving for the UK, I came to the Philippines with my mom on vacation. for a week, and I ended up not ever going home.
Oh, really?
Until about 4 months later, because I ended up staying and starting my modeling career.
So it started with that trip, that visit here.
Yeah, it was a holiday.
That's actually kind of similar to Mark's story. Like he kind of just visited. He was always visiting from high school.
Yeah.
And I was just like, hey, you want to go to college?
And then
but he stayed. But yeah, but why did you decide to stay though? Like what was it that, you know, to give that up is a big deal. But obviously it's worked out for you in the long run. But to decide on that, when you have everything all set up, you have the dorm number, you have the degree. Why did you decide to make that jump?
a lot of it was, I wouldn't want to say pressure, but more so encouragement from my mom, because I grew up doing modeling in Dubai, local commercials and stuff. I started when I was 6. So it was always very like natural to me, or I wouldn't get so nervous in front of a camera. And we happened to sort of meet some people here in Manila during the holiday that had like a great offer for me and thought that I was promising for modeling and showbiz in the Philippines. So when they did pitch it to me, I was also kind of like, wow, this is kind of hard to turn down. And what I decided was, okay, I'll try a year because I can take a gap year from uni. So they always, once you sort of set a placement, they are quite open if you decide to take a gap year. So I emailed them and I said, is it okay if I take a year off? And they said, yeah, for sure. We'll see you next year. A year later, my career had sort of begun to pick up and I had started learning a bit of Tagalog. I was sort of getting familiar with Philippine culture and Manila
the momentum.
itself. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't leave right now. At the time, it felt like I'd given my all in that first year. And I was like, I can't afford to leave right now. And I think better things are going to happen if I stay. So my university deferred my placement for a second year.
Oh.
And then when it came to the third year, I asked again, can you actually keep my placement again?
Can you make it like 4 or 5?
And they were just like, no, sorry.
It's a little too much.
But I can reapply if ever. Grades stay forever, which is why I would say it is really important to set foundations in your education as much as possible. Like you said, it's been 4 years, so I would have graduated now with a degree in biological sciences, which would have set me on a different path, but ideally
Way
set
different.
me for the rest of my life, or at least the start of a different career. And I can't imagine how my life would be had I taken that.
Yeah.
But I have zero regrets.
Yeah, it's funny how like one decision just has that ripple effect to the rest of
Literally.
your life. It's just like every decision you make kind of has that same, even though it seems like a mundane decision, like something that you sort of brush off, like one decision, your whole life has changed.
It's the butterfly effect, which
Exactly.
I always think about every time. I'm like, oh, I regret this so much. But then do I? Because if I had done this or that in the past, this thing wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And
You would not be the same person today if you took that course.
yeah,
For sure.
probably should have taken the course then, shouldn't I? I'm not a good person.
You're great. Come on.
Hey, Marcus, shut up.
So you mentioned that you were doing commercials when you were around 6 years old. And that's a very young age it's a very young age to start, So your acting career actually started when you were really young as an extra, in this Matt Damon movie. I remember
God.
we were in Mark's house and then you just pulled up Netflix and you're just like, you go to this random Matt Damon movie and we're just like, what is she doing? Like, we don't want to see this random Matt Damon. Was it called Syriana?
It was called Syriana.
Yeah.
You did your research.
Thank you. Yeah. So Syriana, we were like, oh, girl, you Syriana right now? And like, but what was that like? How old were you for that one?
I think I must have been about 9 or 10, maybe.
Okay. So you remember it. You remember the
I
experience.
do. I remember
yeah.
parts of it.
Yeah. What was that like? Being in a Matt Damon movie.
It was pretty cool. I mean, I wish I would be doing it now because I think I would appreciate it more.
Yeah.
But
I also wish I was 9.
yeah, it's like, which one is? But that experience was amazing because it was a crew from Hollywood, obviously. The whole team shooting this movie in Dubai and just sort of seeing how they work. It was amazing. And we did like a lot in that short amount of time. I actually shot 5 scenes.
Wow.
And a couple of them I was very much in the frame.
Yeah.
And I was excited. And when the movie came out, they had only picked one where I was sort of there. And my brother was like picking his nose in it, which we always tease him about.
No way, it's caught? Like,
yeah, he's like scratching his
unintentionally.
nose. Unintentionally.
Oh my gosh.
And he's like in the side of the frame. We're like out of all the scenes. He even stayed 2 days, I think 2 days more for shooting because he got like about 7 or 8 scenes shot with him in it. And they only put that one in.
It's so great. They're like, oh, which one? The picking nose one. Let's choose that one.
Yeah, but it was a fun experience. My mom had to stay with us because she was our guardian and parent, and she got paid the same amount as us.
Wow.
Yeah, and we were in a 5-star hotel in Dubai called the Royal Mirage.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, and all the food was from Royal Mirage, and it was all paid for. So it was like a vacation. Yeah.
But you being there, you know, at 9 years old, seeing the scene at a very young age, did that kind of spur anything in you to kind of go towards this industry, or was that just, you know, we're doing this for fun, I'm 9 years old?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I was, you know, growing up, I was never really into drama or acting or fame or whatever. I just did modeling because it was something I was, got me a bit of money, pocket money, and it was easy for me. And they liked my look in Dubai because I looked Filipina, but also I could look very Arabic. So I have quite a few commercials where I'm actually wearing the abaya with an Arabic family with me.
I can imagine that.
Yeah, and I really blend in.
Yeah, you pulled it off.
Yeah, I can. It's weird how like my face sort of works with different nationalities and pegs. So that was, you know, always a good thing to have in modeling since it's easy and it's chill. It was always just something I did, but acting is a whole different thing. It's a different kind of art, and even commercial acting is different to TV acting. So it was never something I thought I would get into. It was only when I came here and started modeling here, and then that kind of opened doors for me to go into showbiz, did I start thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to act. And I still freak out until now. I have a lot to work on when it comes to acting. It's probably not my main forte, that's for sure. But it's something that I appreciate. I can have appreciation for as an art, and learning anything new nowadays is just exciting. So
yeah, and you've been through a lot of change, you know, since moving from Dubai. But growing up in Dubai, you know, everything's always changing there. Like the environment's always changing. Like there's a new building here, there's a new road there. Like I remember when I was in a taxi going to our dorms when I was interning there, the taxi driver didn't know where our place was because the roads had changed. Yeah, and apparently that happened a lot in Dubai.
Sure.
But so growing up in an environment that is always changing, did that kind of prepare you for change in general for life?
That's a good point. Maybe subconsciously. But at the same time, being surrounded by that fast change for 18 years, anytime something changed, it didn't feel out of the ordinary because I was so used to it.
Yeah.
So for me, that was just life. Okay, there's a new building here. When the Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building in the world, when
for
that
now.
popped up in Dubai, we were just like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like another
the Burj?
Another thing to add to Dubai is like crazy things they do.
Yeah.
When I went back last month, after my London trip, I went to Dubai for 4 days. I was just like astounded by everything in Dubai, like the roads, like the flat, wide roads.
Yeah, they're really with those highways. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, amazing, right? And I think it didn't prepare me for life in the Philippines at all. Like, the Philippines really culture shocked me. But it definitely made me appreciate, like, the extremes of different kind of livings and, like, standards of living.
Yeah.
And even now, like, I live in BGC, and I'm, like, living the Dubai life. But I did do QC for 3 years,
Yeah.
and that really like helped me to sort of humble down. Like I'm still afraid of cockroaches, but if I saw a cockroach on the road when I first moved here, I would literally just like not even go down that road. I
Wow.
would leave. I'd be like, nope, there's cockroaches here. I'm gonna like take a cab or a trike.
Wow.
And now when I see one, I'm just like, I still get scared, but I'm just like, get out of my way, and like
You still don't
push
have the
through.
guts to kill it.
I no, because like ew. Can you
Yeah.
imagine when it just like
Well, Mark and I, when we used to live together, we had this whiteboard, and we split it into two, Joey and Mark, and because where we were staying was infested with cockroaches, and we would literally like count how many cockroaches we killed. And I know that
is
it reached, and there were tiny ones too, but like I know it reached at one point like over 70.
oh my
Like it was disgusting. We were so used to it. Like you're brushing teeth. Hi guys,
Oh
you know
my
you could see them in the back of the mirror. It was disgusting.
yeah.
But you know, the Philippines compared to Dubai, whereas Dubai is very rapid in its innovation and changes made in the city. Here we're kind of slow to things. Was that kind of a culture shock to you? Was that one of the points?
That was, yeah, that's probably like a big difference. And it's more so on the daily, you know, like traffic and all that. We could have a long conversation about traffic, but we all know how it is. But I'm like, I don't know why, but I do really prefer it in the Philippines. I feel like there's just a vibe in the Philippines that makes you just feel comfortable and at home.
Yeah.
Whereas I think, you know, looking back now in Dubai, like, yeah, I couldn't say that I was like a Dubaian,
Yeah.
you know? I'd say
Dubanero.
Is a Dubanero. I would say that I lived there,
Yeah.
but it doesn't feel like it made me everything that I am.
I felt the same way too because, well, I lived here my whole life, so it's kind of hard for me to call it home anyways. But like, because it's so diverse, like 80% of the culture of the populations from different, you know, backgrounds and different
Yeah.
countries. And I think like 20% of those are Filipino actually. So I
Yeah.
kind of felt it at home. Although
Yeah.
anytime I, you know, tell a Pinoy, "Ah, kabaya," and they'd be like, yeah, whatever.
I don't believe you.
Don't believe you. But yeah, you know, Dubai is a beautiful city. It will be missed. I'm not saying that we miss it, but yeah, it's not quite the Philippines.
It's not enriched with culture, and I mean there are places that in Dubai that do hold the Arabian culture
Yeah.
that you can visit and experience for a short
like the
while.
gold souks, you know.
Yeah, but even then it's built for the westernized population, for
Yeah.
the tourists. So yeah, it is really hard to sort of like I don't, you get what I mean.
Yeah.
But coming to the Philippines, what I love is that like you really just embrace and are surrounded by like Filipino culture, and it shaped me in a way that Dubai
Could
never do.
Yeah.
And just sort of made me really solidify who I am as a person and all of that, being in the Philippines.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really happy that I'm here.
So when you moved here and you started doing modeling, eventually you got into showbiz. The question I have for you is like, do you think artists in the Philippines, especially the new ones who are in the game, do you think they're stretched out a little too thin because, you know, they have to do the hosting, they have to do the dancing, and they have to do the singing? Like, what is your take on that?
That's something about the showbiz industry in the Philippines that I hope will sort of change in time, because I feel like having to do everything, you don't get to be known for like what you really want to do. For me, I have no problem with that particular situation, because I'm kind of just someone that will just like try different things, and I'm not like a singer. I'm not a dancer. I'm actually like, I don't really know what I do. I just sort of live.
You're Miss Eco.
I do it. Oh yeah. I do a bit of everything. So it works quite well for me.
Yeah.
But I have friends and know people in showbiz that they just want to sing, or they just want to be a dancer, but they're being thrown into acting gigs or like hosting gigs or whatever, that, you know, and they have to do it. So I do hope, especially with social media, I think that's going to be a really helping factor to get out your skills and talents that you want to as an artist.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that to evolve. And I think that the industry will pick up on that, the TV industry. And hope, like, even, I mean, actors, like, some actors just want to be actors, but, you know, you got to promote your teleserie, so you have to sing in a mall show.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, legit, and a lot of actors are not comfortable with that, but it's part of the job.
Yeah.
When it comes to the young people, I think a lot of the young ones are becoming famous on social media and then getting taken in by networks.
Yeah.
So
it's like the opposite.
Yeah,
the direction,
so different
which is cool now, because like you as an individual can produce your own content.
Yeah, just
There's
made my first TikTok. Guys, check it out.
What was it? Which?
It was I think it was "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time," Britney Spears. Because you told me to come later, so I was like, all right, I got like 10 minutes. I spent like an hour on it.
An hour on your first TikTok?
Yeah.
Does it really take that long? Do you do all the transitions and stuff?
I put some edits in. Like, I learned how they edit TikToks, and I was like, oh.
It's actually pretty cool. Like, I was kind of impressed. I was like, wow, you have to do all that?
At first, I was like, TikTok is so lame.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. Like, okay, Instagram is fine because like, blah, 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 but not TikTok. And then I got peer pressured, and like, now I'm like, oh no, I'm turning. Yeah.
It's the bell curve.
I've joined.
It's the early adopters, and then now it's becoming mainstream, and everybody's going to be on it later on.
It is actually, like, there are so many people using TikTok, and I had no idea, like, until like a month ago when I saw like some of my friends that have like literally like millions of followers. I was like, oh, this is like getting bigger than Instagram.
Yeah. And of course, they want to push, like, they sort of make the algorithm perform in a way where you get a lot of traffic early on. So it encourages people to get on the platform. For example, like on Instagram now, the new feature, not new, but like they're trying to push it more with the algorithm, is like the carousels, you know, the carousel pictures.
To show it
so
more.
If you actually post more carousel pictures, you'll get more attention because the algorithm promotes it, because you want people to use that feature more.
That's good. Yeah, because I know that I recall when I would do like carousels, they would get less likes than like individual posts. Yeah. Maybe because of the action of the viewer, they would like swipe right to look at the carousel and then forget to like, potentially. Whereas if you're just looking at single photos, you just sort of like. So, you know, like I'm guilty of this as well, like not wanting to post carousels because they get less likes. And so that's cool that they're putting that algorithm in, because although, you know what I do like about Instagram before was the one where it would post on your homepage the most recent post.
Oh yeah, you mean like it was just chronological?
Yeah. And then when they did this whole like selective thing, it was like stuff that like was from like from 2 days ago. And I don't want to like something from 2 days ago because it looks like I'm stalking that person. So,
but now we're all used to it. Now it's fine. It's like,
that's true.
It does rack up the likes more, but at the same time, you're like, when did this happen?
maybe an option to have either or would be a good one.
That's true. Twitter did that. That's what Twitter did.
Did they?
Yeah, because people were also pissed off about that, and then they eventually had that option to switch it. Do you want it chronological or do you want it the shitty way?
Okay. Okay.
You know, that's how it works now. Yeah. So transitioning to your new life, your pageant life. Well, before that, you were always kind of prompted to, like, people were always saying you should be, you should join pageant. You should join a pageant. But you weren't ready yet. Like, you mentioned that you said that you weren't comfortable with who you are yet. But at that point, when you decided to go for it, you were.
Yeah.
So what does that phrase mean to you? Because that phrase has been thrown around a lot. You're comfortable with who you are. But what does that specifically mean to you?
First of all, I'm really glad you remember all this stuff. This was like 2 months ago. I'm like, we went to somewhere in London, and I don't know what happened. So I was, ever since coming here, I had been approached by people to join pageants. And I tried a training session when I first came here. So I was 18. And I was like, no. I just came from high school. I was like kind of a nerdy kid as well.
You tried a pageant here?
I tried a training sesh, a walking class, and I didn't they're like, do you have heels? I was like, oh, okay. So I put some heels on, and they're like, can you just like walk? And I was like, how? Like, I'd never watched a pageant in my life. I didn't know anything about pageantry. And like, so I walked in and the manager person was kind of like, we'll work on it. But it just, at the time, it wasn't something that I was ready to do because I had just signed my university off and wanted to model. Like that was my first step of my transition to the Philippines. So I was like, I'm not going to think about a pageant right now because, and to be honest, I had a bad like connotation about pageants. Yeah. And what I love about the Philippines now is that there is like so much appreciation for it. And I think that appreciation is expanding globally.
Yeah. Because we also won a couple times as well.
That's true. Yeah, right? That's true. And I think now it really is like brain over beauty. Like if you want to have both for a pageant, but the people that they are getting for pageants are incredibly well spoken. They're good social people. They have good hearts. They do things good in the world. Mm-hmm. So it is being noticed now as a more less
looked
based
down
on
upon.
More appreciated, I guess. Yeah. But at the time, which was about 4 years ago, Pia Wurtzbach hadn't competed yet. I actually saw her in the training session. She was going somewhere to do something, but hadn't won Miss Universe. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like so huge that time. Like Pia really like sort of revamped pageant in the Philippines. So for me, it was just like, no, I'm not going to do a pageant. Like there was no reason for me to do so. Plus I was new in the Philippines. So
it just wasn't the right time.
Yeah, just bad timing.
So you got to that point where, you were comfortable and, you decided now I'm ready, right? But also at the same time, like what I wanted to ask you was, okay, you can be comfortable with who you are, but how do you balance that with always wanting to also get better as a person?
It's definitely important to love yourself, right? Like we always, love yourself and be happy with who you are. But you have to make sure that you're not going to stay comfortable and content with your situation. You always have to strive for better because you have the capability to do so.
Yeah.
And once you get comfortable, you get lazy. And I've had phases of that where I'm like making enough money to survive. So I'm good. I just like sleep in all day, eat whatever I want. And one day it will just sort of hit you that like you are not improving in your life. And do you want the rest of your life to be like this? Mm-hmm. If you do, then so be it. But if you want that big house, if you want your kids to go to the best school in the city, if you want to, I've always wanted to buy my dad a Range Rover. That's been like my childhood like goal. That one day I'd buy him a Range Rover. And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do that if I keep doing what I'm doing now. Yeah. And I had to make a lot of sacrifices at a certain point in my life about last year to just let go of the things that were either holding me back or just keeping me in the same place. And I let go of those things, and it was uncomfortable, and it was very scary. And I'm really glad that I did it.
Yeah.
Because I think that the year or two that I had of being so comfortable and chill, I've made so much more progress just personally, even in just relationship with my family, my friends, myself. Mm-hmm. In the past 6 months has already been more progressive than it had been previously. So
I guess it's also like you can be comfortable with who you are, but based on what you're saying, you can be comfortable with who you are, but don't be comfortable where you're at in a way. Like you're not content with where you are in life in the sense where it's not like you have self-doubt, you're self-destructive or like that, but it's like you still have that drive to keep on pushing forward without the self-destruction. That's where the comfortable with who you are part comes in as well. Do you see that? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's self-love, but it's more so understanding where you started and loving the fact that you were surviving the journey to strive for better. Because if you are like so happy with yourself and you think that you're perfect, your head, you got a big ego then, and you think that you're better than everyone else, but you're really not. And that just means you're surrounding yourself with people that aren't challenging you.
Who inflate your ego as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if you do want to improve, and you should always strive to be better, surround yourself with people who encourage you, who teach you new things. Surround yourself with work and people that are trying to improve themselves too. And I think you'll notice things and realize like, oh, I'm not actually that perfect, or like this person's actually better at this than me. So like I can improve here. And that's what I've been going through. And a lot of times I don't feel like I love myself. Like I'm working on that. Like I would always depend on other people to love me and to get that sort of appreciation or acceptance from other people. And I still find that like if someone says something bad about me that I hear, like it still affects me now, but I'm like learning how to like not let it affect me so much, because I know my side of the story. I know why I know that person's just trying to defend themselves. There is a certain situation, which I won't really like go into. But you know, the important thing is to just always be the best person that you can be. And when a bad situation does come at hand, just know that you did it your best. And if you messed up, then just don't mess up the next time.
Yeah. And if you didn't do your best, then you know that's where also like, you know, something that a lot of people struggle with is they might not be doing their best, but they, you know, then they have all that information of self-love, and so they're kind of stuck as well. You know, so it's hard to find the balance because it's so personal as well. You know, where self-love or whatever you may call it, just accepting yourself or the position you're at or where you're at in life, you know, all that, you have to be able to also balance that with the drive to still go on and not stay in the same spot, right? Because I believe you won't stay in the same spot when suffering happens, when challenges occur and when problems rise. You know, you're not gonna, it's either you become a stronger person or you become a weaker person.
Yes.
You won't stay the same. That's something that I heard recently in a podcast, and I was just like, wow.
Okay, so you just stole it from them. Nice.
Just stole it from Tim Keller, baby. Thank you, Tim. But yeah, that really struck me because it's like, you know, you don't have an excuse to just wave this off as, okay, this problem is aloof, but love yourself, you know?
Yeah.
But a lot of the mainstream media out there is promoting that. It's a bigger puzzle that isn't being shown. They're only showing a few pieces of it. That's what I think. What do you think about that?
I totally agree. We are this snowflake generation. Well, I like to throw myself in there, but then I'm 23 now. So
snowflake generation?
Yeah. We're like snowflakes. So it's just, well, this is like what my dad tells me all the time, that my generation, which I don't think I'm part of, because it's like, there's like Gen Z, whatever. Yeah. I don't know. But the upcoming generation that are sort of smothered with social media around them are snowflakes, which these aren't my words, don't bash me, but they're kind of just like, oh, just do what you love and you'll be fine, like money's nothing, and like money's not important, it's just happiness. And I would say that yes, like part of that is true, but the reality is sometimes you have to do things you don't really want to do if you want to succeed. Yeah. If you want to get to the point where you're at. And what I did hear on a podcast, I think it's called Masters in Business, and then there was a subtitle. I don't know which one it was, but it was a really good one. And the guy that was talking about this specifically and said, you know, it's not about doing what you love, it's for your job, right? Do a job that you're good at. Yeah. And then enjoy your life. Yeah. Do something that you're really good at, because that's how you'll make money. That's how you'll be able to do the things that make you happy, and therefore you'll be happy.
Yeah. And you'll love it if you're good at
Because
it as
you're good
well,
at it,
right?
yeah.
And the more, like, there was also another podcast. I wouldn't mention all these podcasts. There's another podcast where he was like, don't follow your passions, develop them.
I love that.
I forgot what podcast it was. But yeah, he was talking about, a lot of people, like what you said, it's just the mainstream media out there is like, follow your dreams, follow your passions. But there's so much work that comes into actually, having a sustainable income,
Yes.
especially for things that are more risky in life. And the way to sort of not leapfrog it, but go through it is to find something that you're good at. And
Yeah.
eventually you will start to love it. If you practice it and you spend time with it, you might fall in love with the craft. Although there are also, I have to say, people who are good at things but don't like it. And therefore it will be unsustainable in the long run. For example, you might be really good at accounting. And then maybe your parents tell you should, you're good at math. Your parents tell you to do accounting when you're in college. And you're good at it, but you hate it. Like, you're miserable in it. You could also just keep going down that route, put your head down and make a lot of money, but you'll be miserable. Or you could also find something else that you're good at. You know? So it's that balance of
It's
exploration.
the balance. It's all about the balance. I agree that, okay, if you really like hate your job that much, like, go find another job or find something else that you're good at. But it's, it's more the idea that, like, because even for me, like, when I don't feel like I'm so happy with, like, where I'm at with my career, or I lose a bit of passion for it, it comes and goes. It's a job in the creative industry is always a little bit difficult. It's not consistent. And sometimes not sustainable. So it does sort of like get to you very easily when you don't have a project, because 1 month you could be like racking in the money. You can buy a car in a month. And then the next like 3 months you are literally,
you're broke.
You're broke. Like, you've got nothing. So those challenges come with having like a freelance / artistic possibly kind of job like that, but I always have to remind myself that my asset is like my image, like the way that I look. And sometimes when I don't take care of it, like, I'll just sleep really late. Like, we'll be texting at like 5 a.m. Sleep really late, or just like not dress up properly. And I don't care, because like, I'm chill. Like, I don't care what I look like, but you know what? It's part of my job. And this is a job that I'm good at, which I'm working towards right now, so I need to commit to that. When I'm at home, wear whatever I want, like, look however I want. But when I'm out there, when I'm networking, when I'm working, I need to be at my best, because this is my job, and this is what's gonna make me money, and this is what's gonna fulfill me when I do well in it. And that's gonna give me a good future.
For sure. So you joining Miss World, first of all, when I was researching about Miss World, it's very interesting. It actually started off in the 50s as a bikini contest. Like, it was just purely, it was called the Bikini Festival. Like,
was it?
Yeah, it was called the Bikini Festival, blah, blah. And the media named it Miss World.
Wow.
So it was actually never Miss World at first. And then it was only until the 80s that they introduced like the personality traits and all the tests that you went through as well.
I see.
So, but for 30 years, it was just who's the hottest girl, from all these countries. So you being in that competition, with it having that background, did you feel like the question and answers for the personality and characteristics, did it have the same weight as the looks?
It actually doesn't, because I think one of the common misconceptions about the pageant, when viewers watch it on the coronation night, that final night, they're not necessarily aware of what went on for like the previous 3-4 weeks that you were actually competing as well. So
there's auditions,
we even
rounds.
Like rounds, like challenges that sort of come throughout the couple of weeks. So you've got like we had the sports challenge, we had the top model challenge, beach body challenge, sort of things that that targeted different parts of who we are, and those points all add up. Coronation night, yes, because it is sort of the biggest night of the 3 weeks. the Q&A section and all that stuff, it does add up, but essentially your whole entire performance throughout the 3 weeks, even your general personality will get judged by the organization.
Based on how you interact with the
even
people
your
in the
lateness
organization.
To whatever it is, to whatever event we're doing. If you every time we had a Miss World Philippines event, when we signed in, we had to put what time we arrived. And if we were late, we had to put that too. And they would count how many times you've been late, and you would need a very, very valid excuse to get away with it. Very strict, because they want it, the person that they want to represent the Philippines on the international stage is someone that's going to be a well-rounded person. So when people do judge the winner of a pageant solely on the coronation night, it is a bit unfair.
Yeah.
Or solely on the Q&A, because
they don't see everything that happened.
Exactly. On top of that, like I am a victim of Q&A fails. Insert video clip. Don't. Don't.
I'll do it.
Yeah, it caught me off guard. I know that I can speak. I know that there's so many things that I want to share with the world, but the question didn't give me the opportunity to do so. And the pressure of the crowd, the wearing a gorgeous but very heavy dress, having to smile, thinking about so many things, and then only having 30 seconds to answer a certain question. It's not a realistic test for your intelligence, but it is a test of how you can handle pressure.
Yeah.
And I suck at that. I get nervous with like everything.
Were you nervous about this podcast today?
I actually wasn't. I was, because it's good. You. But if it was like, I've guested on like some radio stuff and another podcast before, and I was sweating, like really sweating. Like I was glad I was wearing black because you couldn't see the sweat patches under my arms. But because it was you, I was comfortable. I felt comfortable about it.
But yeah, dealing with pressure, how have you gotten better at that so far? Because I mean, you have a lot more pressure on your plate now, going to this global competition, competing with, I have to say, very beautiful ladies. I saw the Miss Eco page, and but you know,
you probably just
you're prettier. You're prettier, of course. You know. But yeah, I mean, that's a lot of pressure. Like, how are you preparing yourself for that? Are you sure
that was the Miss Eco page?
Yeah, Miss Eco page.
I've actually been like, can you hear Marcus? I've been trying to deal with the pressure. I think one of the things that kind of has been a bit stressful for me about this Miss Eco competition is that I was crowned September 15 for Miss Eco Philippines. My competition is March 2020, so there's a 6 month gap. So I've been like sort of pondering over like all the things that I have to do, been thinking about it for like the past 3-4 months, but it's been too soon to actually do anything, because with all the other pageant season, which was November, December, January, for other competitions were going on. So our pageant team, like our managers and stuff, we're prioritizing them because I'm still in March.
Yeah, you're still later on.
And of course, like I step back and I totally respect and understand that. So for me, I would just be sitting in my room, like stressing about like, I got to get this thing done, but it gets too soon. So it's just sort of been like, I've been in this sort of limbo of like wanting to do a lot of things, but it being too early to do so. So I'm actually now at the stage where we have things to submit. And, but yeah, that sort of build up and anticipation has kind of now, since I have like 2 months, about under 2 months now until I leave. I know, it's like a month and a half. Now time is flying. And now I like have so much to do. And this always happens with like prepping for a pageant. It's very hard to like keep everything structured because things just come out of nowhere that you have to get done. But I love that part of it. The thing I'm dreading the most is legitimately the Q&A on coronation night.
On the spot.
So
I was looking at some of the questions that were asked last year, and they're actually pretty generic. It's just like, what do you think about food waste?
Yeah.
What do you think about that? But like, again, it's the pressure. It's like being there, you know, like how many people watch that? Thousands, maybe millions of people. And the pressure of also being, sorry, I had pressure, but the pressure of, like
okay, I've thought about all of
Philippines, like on your back. It's a great thing though to represent the Philippines. I mean, rarely do people get a chance. I actually got a chance once when I was in the baseball team when I was pretty young. They were like, we want you to come with us to blah, blah, and I forgot where, but they're like, this national team. At the same summer, like my grandparents were like, "You want to go to Hawaii?" I'm like,
wonder what you picked.
Hawaii. But yeah, I mean, it's a big deal to be representing, the Philippines and all that pressure. So, how have you been preparing for this particular competition so far? Like, what have you been doing? Have you been doing a lot of research on the environment, obviously, and your other guests maybe, kind of like scouting reports in basketball, where you have to look at your opponents as well.
Yeah.
Of course, you collaborate with them later on, you make friends with them later on, but it's still a competition.
I actually haven't done that. I know that when the time comes, I will feel competitive. But usually, like leading up to, like even for Miss World Philippines, I'm not competitive until like that final moment where I'm like, oh God, I hope I win.
Yeah.
But I'm not particularly that competitive. Like I'm very happy to like help out other people, and I haven't really looked at the competition, the other girls that are competing. I just really want to focus on who I am and what I can bring to the competition. I would say having the Philippines, like representing the Philippines and having their support it is one of those good pressures that actually converts into motivation. Because if I didn't want to bring pride to the Philippines, or I didn't care, or they weren't that supportive, I wouldn't care about winning. I'd just be like, whatever. So it is a good pressure, which I also get from my parents as well, who are extremely supportive. But they have been the ones that have been like, so have you been doing your stuff? Have you been preparing? Have you thought about this? And I at a point I was like, Dad, sorry, Dad, but
this is not homework anymore.
Dad, stop, please. Like, I don't need this pressure. Like, I don't need to think about it right now. But all the things that he sort of preempted that was gonna happen is happening now. So I'm like, you're right. But I am actually preparing a lot earlier than a lot of people get to prepare for a pageant. So I think I'll be fine. We're doing our eco video, which was supposed to be shot today. We'll do it on Friday instead. And I wrote the script. I actually did like the shot list. I chose the audio. Like I planned it all out. That was yesterday's project.
Today's project was the TikTok.
Today's project was a TikTok. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. This is my industry. It's a bit of everything.
That's great though. It would be a shame if we didn't bring this up, but your advocacy when you were competing for Miss World was alopecia. Can you please explain this autoimmune disease, right?
Yes.
Can you please elaborate on this, and also how are you dealing with it right now?
So alopecia is hair loss, which can occur in both men and women.
Here.
And I don't know if you know anyone else that suffers from it. No.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe my brother and me. No, but I heard it from you that time in Halloween. Like, you're the one who explained it to me. I didn't know what like an autoimmune disease was till you. I mean, I knew.
We were at a party.
No, like, we were in my condo. It was just like
condo.
It was so weird. Like, you were Minnie Mouse and I was Avatar: The Last Airbender, and we were just like talking in our living room. It was kind of like it was kind of funny.
Deep talk about like health and like advocacy in life, and we're like dressed up like Avatar and Minnie Mouse. Insert photo.
So the alopecia. Oh yeah, the alopecia. Please explain it. Elaborate on it. I don't know why you find it funny, Mark, but.
So alopecia. We'll get very serious now. Alopecia is an autoimmune disease, like you said. They're about now they've officially said that there are about 80 to 100 autoimmune diseases. I found my alopecia it was actually October 2018. Wow, such a long time ago. And it freaked me out massively. I called my dad up. I was crying. I was like, why am I missing some hair? What's going on? Like, I thought, like, someone pulled it out. And it was just, like, because they usually come in patches. So
Yeah, circular.
yeah, mine was a little, like, circle about that big.
Where was it? Like here? Here?
Here.
Okay.
And, like, I was in Tagalog class, and I was, like, stressing about the class. So I was, like, scratching my head, like, da-da-da. And I was like, why does that bit feel super smooth? So I go to the bathroom, and I'm like, I can't see it because it's on the back of my head. So I'm just looking in the mirror, and then I get my phone out, I take a photo, and I look and I zoom in, I'm like, no way. What? And I run out and I'm crying, and my Tagalog teacher like hugs me, and we search it up, and it's alopecia. I'm like, never heard of that before. So I called my dad up. He told me to give it a search and not to stress about it. I didn't look too much into it. It basically they just said, oh, it's stress. And I went through something that was really traumatic for me about a few weeks before I found my alopecia. So I was like, oh, that must have been it. Like, I wasn't eating that time. I was really like, I was crying all the time. I wasn't sleeping. So just a really depressing time for me. And I think that's what might have triggered it. So I was like, okay, so that's it. All I just need to make sure is I don't get stressed or think too much about it. Don't even look at it. Couple months later, I asked my cousin who lives with me, like, can you just check on my like alopecia? And she's like, she had a look. She's like, dude, it's huge. Like, what? I had a look and I almost broke down in tears because I hadn't been thinking about it. It was fairly easy to cover up because it's like in a place that, you know, some people have it like here, so right, it's really hard to cover up. So mine was
like this.
yeah, or like, I mean, that's alopecia totalis or something where you lose all your hair.
Yeah. Or just bad genes.
Or just bad
Thanks,
genes.
Dad.
Yeah. Oh, thanks to my dad too, because when I was joining the Miss World Philippines, that's when I decided to make my advocacy about alopecia, and it expanded purely because when I was doing my research, I noticed, I realized, in fact, that my alopecia actually possibly came from my dad's side, his genes, because
genetic.
He has other autoimmune diseases which have totally different symptoms. So we never linked it. And it was only when I discovered that, you can pass on autoimmunity to your children, but it might appear as different symptoms. So that's what happened with alopecia, I think. The problem with autoimmune diseases is that most of the time, excluding like lupus and stuff, which can be fatal, most of them are not really fatal. So there isn't such an urgency to invest in research into autoimmunity and how to cure it and to find out what the cures are. Whereas if you look at something like cancer, which is fatal most of the time, or a lot of the time, a lot of research, billions and billions and billions of dollars go into researching that and trying to find solutions. Whereas you can kind of blow over autoimmune diseases. My advocacy was to really just raise awareness about alopecia and also autoimmunity. And maybe because if someone gets alopecia like me, like when I did, I blew it off just as stress and let it go. And then I realized that it's actually a genetic thing. And in fact, for the rest of my life, I am susceptible to any other autoimmune diseases. And because mine hasn't been, my hair has been growing back in certain areas, but it's also been getting bigger as the patch itself. So there is even if I'm not stressed, there is something internally that isn't right. So I have a doctor, we've had blood tests, everything actually seems fine. It actually says I have no autoimmune problems, but it's so hard to figure it out because a lot of the time it's about what you eat and how you look after your gut and your sleep and all of that. So it's just it's so vague right now. And the scary part about alopecia in particular is you don't know when it could get worse
or when it's going to hit.
When it might never come back again, or when it's going to stop growing, or am I going to totally lose my hair? It started off like this and it's now about this big. And that's been in about a year and a bit. And it could literally, like, I see my hair falling on the floor and like in my condo and I freak out. And I just have to just accept it.
That must be very, very hard because you were talking about earlier how, your beauty is your asset, and like your
Yes.
face is your asset. And so to lose, part of your hair, which is part of your asset,
Yeah.
it must be really hard to deal with that. So how have you been coping? And also the fact that, I read this Harvard article that they found out that alopecia isn't caused by stress. Like
Yeah.
they didn't really mention what causes it, because like you said, there isn't a lot of research done, but they did find out that it wasn't stress. So that's stressful because
Yeah,
like,
it's stressful
it's
in
just, it's
itself.
all up there. Like you said, it's all vague. But how have you been able to deal with that uncertainty?
It's been really hard, but I have to say that joining a community or a group that support people who are in the same situation or similar situation. So when I joined Alopecia Philippines, that was actually very comforting. And I'm not someone that really would like reach out to groups or people. Even on Facebook, I won't join a group and talk about stuff. I'm very to myself.
Yeah.
So it was stepping out my comfort zone, but realizing that, I'm not alone in this journey. And to be able to talk to other people that have been through the similar situations, and to even just get advice on them, like what shampoo is the best for you, what worked for you. And these are people that have been through it. Your doctor might have never had alopecia in her life, so she doesn't know how it feels. And
or might not know what it is.
Might not even know what it is. So yeah, it's just really good to have a community around you that, and I would strongly encourage, if you do have like any sort of anything and you feel uncomfortable about it, join a group, join a community, and I think you'll find comfort in ways to deal with it better with them. So that really helped. When I came out with my video, my advocacy video for Miss World Philippines, that was when I first publicly revealed that I had alopecia.
Yeah.
And it was so scary. We had to cut so many times because I was just crying and crying. Like, even to the people in the studio at the time, I didn't even want to say it because for about a year, I had hidden it in my showbiz career.
Mm-hmm.
And even to most of my friends didn't know. And I would just hide it and get the same hairstylist all the time, or just ask them, like, can you just hide it when you fix my hair? And please don't tell anyone that I have it, because I was afraid of, like, companies not wanting to get me.
Yeah.
For example, a shampoo brand. Or, like, I didn't know that it was so common, actually. But then when I did sort of open up about it and come out with it, I heard about other celebrities that actually have alopecia too, and how certain hairstylists make sure that, it doesn't like show like how they hide it or what kind of hairstyles are good. So having all of this advice and sort of just hearing that you're not actually alone is the most important thing. And that's why raising awareness for alopecia is very important, because the awareness is part of the cure.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel very strongly about that advocacy.
Yeah, and I think you did a very good job of, spreading awareness through the show.
I hope so as much. I even had I saw comments on my video when I mentioned it as my advocacy, that people were like, oh, she's overreacting, stressed again.
Yeah.
It's and it really isn't. I then discovered that I have PCOS, which is PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is more androgens, which are male hormones / testosterone. I have more of that than I should.
That's why you have those biceps.
Yeah, that's ripped as heck, and I'm like a bro, right?
Yeah, you are, bro.
No, it also, like, there is no official, like, sort of like diagnosis or whatever for the connection between alopecia and PCOS, but there is a possibility that there is a connection, because if you have a lot of male hormones, you are more susceptible to male pattern hair loss. So that could be a reason why I have alopecia. But it's all very undefined, and the best thing is just to be as healthy as possible.
Yeah.
And if you lose all your hair, like my dad actually wants me to shave my head. As a artist, as a pageant queen, as a social media influencer, just shave your head.
Join the team, dude.
Yeah, you know, like I'll save money on shampoo, you know. But
And my dad always told me, and he was bald, you're not losing hair, you're gaining face.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But, you know, if it comes to it, I might.
Yeah.
And
I think you could pull it off, actually. You do have the face shape.
really,
It's the head, it's the skull shape that matters most.
I see.
You know, I think you could pull it off. But Kelley, I hope you know that, you know, we are in full support of you, and we wish you the best of luck for Miss Eco Global, the global competition.
Thank you.
Upcoming March, right? March
22, I'll fly, and I will. The coronation will be April 11.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Was that an hour?
That was an hour.
Was it actually? Wow.
It's 59 right now.
Oh, so we got a minute.
Yeah.